Welcome, Barnyard fans, to the icy world of Arthen, where the encampment of Golder Shoulder and his boys hide in wait to steal the prize of Pavonus. Unlucky for them, the Deathwatch decided to stop in on their way to exterminate the Drakari, and found something even better waiting for them on Arthen. Fresh meat!
Hi, I'm Neil, and today I'll be playing Deathwatch. I've put together what I hope is a pretty flavourful list. I'm running one of each of the kill teams, a Proteus, a Fortis, an Indomitor, and a Spectrus. And then I'm also running a group of aggressors alongside that. I have a couple of characters in Terminator armour because Deathwatch really like to deep strike things into the fray. And then I've got a fair bit of surprise manoeuvrability that I'll be able to do, and I'm hoping to use that to influence where the Orks can and can't go.
Hey, how's it going? I'm representing the Orks today, bringing some green to the table. It's sorely lacking. Neil brought some green too, so it's just a very green day today. I'm going to be taking a war boss to lead a relatively large green tide. I've also got a weird boy to support them, you know, make them all a little bit more choppy, throw them at him, I guess. What else have I got? I've got a Morkanaut. It is a Morkanaut, ignore the gun. I've got a truck that's absolutely bristling with rockets. So my army's probably gonna die real quick. Some meat for the grinder.
Today's mission is Overrun, where both players converge on the battlefield at breakneck speed, determined to take control of this region in one fell swoop. In this mission there are 6 objectives, and players score 5 points for holding 2, 10 for holding 3, and another 5 for holding more than their opponent at the beginning of each of their turns. If you haven't yet subscribed, I urge you to do so now. It's free and you can always unsubscribe later. Also, do not forget to go and vote for your favorite player down below. This is your fortnightly update on your favorite players.
Today I have Thin the Ranks, Assassinate, and Raise the Banners. Thin the Ranks because he has a lot of models and he can bring them back, and even if he brings them back, that actually counts more towards the score. Assassinate because he has some important characters. I have snipers, see how we go. And then I've Raised the Banners. So I'm hoping to be able to raise 3 banners on my first turn and see how well I hold them, though I don't hold much hope against so many Orks.
So I'm taking Domination. I'm also going to be taking Raise Banners and While We Stand We Fight. Mainly because I like to dominate the battlefield, because Orks are great, and if there aren't enough Orks on the battlefield, I am sad. I'm going to take the Raise Banners because throw some more Orc sigils up in the sky. I think that's fun. And the last one is While We Stand We Fight. So that's going to be a whole bunch of Orc boys that he has to kill, and also the Gorkanaut/Morkanaut. It's actually a Morkanaut. That I'm going to be making a lot of mistakes with that. That's going to be deep striking at some point.
The players roll off.
3.
Orc symbol is 6.
Ooh. And Matt takes turn 1.
I can't really say that Neil left his backline open, so there's no wow Mr. Bond today, but one nonetheless. Let's tear some heads up.
So I've applied fungal cream to all my models, and I'm going to be using that to kill every single Ork I see.
An exciting start to Game 3, as Matt's very first move is to rocket his bomber across the sky into Neil's lines, bombing some infiltrators for 3 mortal wounds and then suiciding itself for 1 command point to automatically deal 3 mortal wounds to every single one of Neil's units, thanks to its custom job. Neil shrugs a couple of them thanks to his apothecary, and the rest of Matt's units, including the truck full of rockets and the Deathcopter, shuffle forward. Spending a further CP to mob up, Matt, being the Orc player he is, casts Warpath, and then the jump on his 40-man boy unit in the backline. taking a single mortal wound from perils in the process. Shaking off his headache, the weird boy watches his boys teleport into a hailstorm of firepower as Neil uses Auspex Scan to cut down 11 of Matt's boys as they land. Which finally brings us to Matt's shooting phase, which was an eventful one at that, with all of his rockets from the copter, warbus and tank busters only killing a single infiltrator due to firing through the dense cover of the forest. The mech gun misses everything, and lastly his now 29-man boy unit kill one single marine from the Proteus team in retaliation for their 11 brothers. As you could have expected, Matt attempts a charge on Neil's bikes in the corner, only to watch Neil use Stem the Green Tide for 2 CP.
Alright,
This allows Neil to fire Overwatch, killing 3 more boys, and taking another 2 inches off Matt's charge, making it an 11.
Boom.
Ooh! It's a 5+.
Oh, I would have got it otherwise.
Yeah, you would have totally made it.
Rip.
And a rather concise turn from Neil as the Deathwatch indeed stem this green tide. Neil begins with a small shuffle forward from just about everything. The Apothecary brings back an Intercessor and heals himself back to full health, while watching his brothers just obliterate Matt's poor boys with a hellish amount of firepower. After the smoke clears, 8 of them are left, and the only thing left to do is charge them with the Outriders and slice them up with their chainswords. Those poor boys were teleported into absolute torture. The only other thing left to say is that during this turn, both Matt and Neil raised banners on all 3 of the points in their own territories.
So I feel like that went okay. I managed to remove one of the Orc mobs, which is good. I needed to get that out of the way. And my screen has held against the jump, but I'm very worried about what's going to happen when the Gorkamorkanorkador comes down and starts exploding my bikes.
Well, that was a bit of a hosing. That was quite bad. The boys not making it in is rough. I kind of expected it because I knew that he had because he has those little scrambly dudes in on the kill team, but hopefully this turn I'm gonna get some damage through with my heavy weapons, mince up some marines hopefully, and then let's throw in a fucking Morkanaut and see what happens there.
At the end of round 1, Matt spent 2 of his CP, taking him down from 9 to 8 after gaining 1 this round, but scored 0 points. Whilst Neil spent 5 of his command points, taking him down to just 4 remaining in order to gain 5 points within their ranks, one of which was Matt killing his own plane. To start off round 2, Matt will score 10 points for primary and 3 points for his raised banners. Let's see how these orcs retaliate. Unfortunately for Matt's round 2, we lost some of the top-down footage. As for movement, Matt flew his brave Deathcopter towards those infiltrators on the left, pushed his truck down the center board to try and take this point, although he cannot see the infiltrators behind the wall to shoot them, and huddled his boys behind the wall. It is also worth mentioning that Neil had consolidated his bikes forward after mopping up Matt's boys to form a shield wall. We also want to mention here that we believe Neil was not able to use Auspex Scan in this case anymore, as Matt arrives during the psychic phase and not in the movement phase. However, it would have made little difference as the bikes in Neil's turn had also shot into Matt's grots instead of laying waste to the boys, and so Neil could have shot them instead. Speaking of psychic phases, Matt once again casts Warpath and to jump onto his trusty boys and plays a little more defensively this time, using them as a back screen for Neil's reserves. Followed up by another lackluster shooting phase, Poor Matt managed to kill a total of 2 bikers with absolutely all of his shooting onto Neil's units, including the newly arrived Gorka Morkanaut. However, Matt's war boss did force a reroll onto Neil's infiltrators on the left with a rocket.
From the war boss. Daka Daka.
Get your reroll.
2 wins.
Hey!
I'm gonna CP reroll that.
With the boring phase out of the way, it was grumpin' time. Matt made the 10-inch charge with an 11 thanks to ramming speed on his big boy, and just barely crushed all of Neil's bikes using a reroll for damage. The brave copter went in against the infiltrators on the left, doing nothing and taking a wound in return to shut them down. And the truck also went in against the infiltrators on the center objective, unfortunately only killing one of them with a wrecking ball. If Matt had killed them both, he would have shut down Neil's banner, held 4 points for domination, and stopped Neil from scoring 5 extra points in his round. Unlucky. To commence Neil's turn, his intercessors move over towards the truck along with all of his other models in the back line, while some eradicators and Neil's new librarian come down to back them up, and the aggressors and heavy intercessors use a new gap in the backfield to deep strike. With the librarian now on the table, Neil's psychic phase begins. He does fail a power, but he succeeds with Fortify with Contempt. Before we get to witness its potential, this absolutely horrific unit called Eradicators push 11 wounds through the armor of Matt's poor Gorka Morkanaut, even after passing 3 out of 5 saves of his custom force field. Sadly for Matt, all it takes is for Neil's Proteus squad with heavy bolters and flamers to just look at it funny, and just like that, another 7 wounds are stripped away, crumpling it to the ground, not even allowing it to explode. The newly arrived heavy intercessors make their first ever game a memorable one, as well by wiping 4 of Matt's tank busters off the table in one shot. While Neil takes no chances on the aggressors next to them and unloads everything onto the grots on the point, before they use a reroll for charge onto Matt's mech gun, obliterating it with their fists and taking the point for themselves. Which brings us to a rather interesting combat with Matt's truck. After being charged by the Watchmaster, the Proteus team and the Intercessors, the truck dies and Matt spends his CP to get out within 6 inches using emergency disembarkation, so his Warboss and Tank Busters may live. He cleverly places them as far away as he can with the boss at the front, to leave Neil with the choice of consolidating onto them with his Watchmaster. If he does, the Tank Busters may not shoot next turn, but the boss would get to hit him back. Insanely, Neil is not afraid and takes these odds.
Come on, just ones.
Hitting on 2. 4 damage.
Shit.
You good?
Yep.
All 5 up.
With great success as well, rolling 5 5+s, which would have each done 4 damage flat.
This past battle round went very well for me. I managed to kill the Gorka Morkanaut, got the truck and everything out of it. We took the grots off a objective, and we've managed to hold on to 2 of my objectives.
So that was a toasting, literally in some aspects, because the flamers helped destroy that Morka Gorka Dorkanaut, which is painful. That was rough. But that being said, I think I might be able to do one final punch with the boys, get one final hit in before I get tabled. So that'd be nice. We'll see.
To conclude turn 2, Matt spent another 4 CP, taking him down to 5 remaining, gaining another 10 points for primary and 3 for his raised banners, whilst Neil spent all 5 of his remaining CP and gained 16 points in the process, 10 for primary, 3 for his raised banners, and another 3 for thin their ranks. It is also worth noting that Matt has now lost 2 of his While We Stand We Fight units, meaning he may only get 5 points at the end of the game for that secondary, and that when Neil consolidated into Matt's Warboss, he had 0 CP remaining for any rerolls. What an absolute madman. Some slight shuffles from Matt in his turn 3. The Pain Boy and Big Mech with KFF that have been hiding behind this wall all game ran out into the open, leaving the Weird Boy and some sneaky commandos you didn't even know were there to hold Matt's back point. The Tank Busters fall back and the War Boss is soon to be joined by another swathe of boys as the Weird Boy warpaths and jumps one final time. As they land, their sluggers pick off 1.5 intercessors, and before they can charge in, the MVP Deathcopter has to steal the show by killing 3 infiltrators with 2 rockets, sadly failing to kill the last one in the fight phase later on.
Getting 2 6s.
Well done.
Deckers.
So 2 more shots.
However, the boys do make it in,
Well,
scratching some wounds off the Watchmaster and tying down all of Neil's units. Matt then has a choice to make here. He can either use the Killer Claw all out, killing Neil's Watchmaster, thus removing him from combat and dooming his boys to a horrific amount of bolter and flame of fire. Or he may swing at him with his fists, or an attack squig and have him survive to keep Matt's remaining troops safe in combat.
You're hitting him for real.
Yeah. Would a Orc War Boss
Right, I'm all about the fun.
Matt goes for the fun option, and just like that, we say bye-bye to the Watchmaster. As I think you have a good idea of where this is going, Neil shuffles the rest of his troops towards Matt's last blob of boys. His heavy intercessors move over enough to see Matt's War Banner knob holding the point in the back, and with Neil even forgetting to use his Apothecary or Librarian, we just go straight into the shooting phase to watch as those heavy intercessors pick off the banner and the last remaining tank buster. The Eradicators do exactly what they describe and just obliterate this poor MVP copter out of existence, giving Matt his last trick, which is to loot it and give all of his boys a 5+ armor save.
4
We need 4 6s.
Wow!
No, it's amazing.
I will loot it. I will loot it with the boys. Now every single boy is +1 armor.
Nah,
Is that
yeah,
it?
because it's a vehicle, isn't it?
Yep.
The other unit of 5 tank busters are also not long for this world, as 3 aggressors say bye-bye. The other 2 aggressors contribute to the hailstorm of bolt rounds that leave Matt with just 7 boys remaining, before they are cleaned up by the infamous Proteus team, leaving poor Matt with just 4 characters left on the table, spread apart and with no cover for turn 4. At this point in the game, Neil controls 4 out of 6 points and has more firepower than a burner with too much inspiration at his disposal, so we called it there, and Matt conceded.
I'm a little surprised, but the fungal cream was effective and we managed to kill all but 1 model within the Orks. That was intentional, entirely intentional, so that Orc can go back to its friends and say, don't fuck with Space Marines.
So we got hosed. The Orks got toasted pretty hard. The battlefield smells like shiitake mushroom. Everyone's sad and miserable, mainly because they're either Space Marines or dead. And now the Orks have to, the fungal cream was 99.99% effective, I'll have you know. So the jury's out. There's that one Orc Big Mech that's floating around throwing his spores everywhere. So they're gonna be back. Maybe not in this tournament. I am knocked out. And unfortunately, according to Jackson, he's beaten me in terms of the points. Next time, you'll see another battle report at one point. I now have a fully painted army, so I'll paint some more and I'll try and table Jackson.
The wooden spoon is his!
Scumbag.
Going forward, I'm still laser focused on beating Jack eventually. I don't know if he'll be my matchup next round, but if he isn't, then I'm going to meet him in the finals.
As I let the rest of the game play out, the final scores were 40-72 Neil's way. In the last 3 rounds, Matt managed to score another 5 points for primary, 6 for raised banners, and 6 for domination. Whilst Neil scored 20 more for primary, 4 for raise, 5 for Thin Their Ranks, and 12 more for Assassinate. Meaning that Matt has just taken the bottom spot and wooden spoon for this tournament, unless one of the 2 final players in our last quarterfinal game score lower than that, and Neil will move on to the semi-finals. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe, like the video, leave a comment, and tune in for the next battle report between Cooper's Tau and Tate's Death Guard. If you really enjoyed it, you can support us on Patreon for as little as $3 a month, or join our Discord down below for free. Once again, don't forget to go and vote for your favorite players in this tournament below as well. Check out our 3 sponsors for all terrain, dice tray, and mat needs, and otherwise, we will see you all in the next game. Peace.